it sounds like you're in transit, so are you going to be able to start us off with live streaming? Brad, if you are speaking, you're
I
on mute.
don't I don't know if I can do it from my phone or not. I'm looking right now.
That's okay. We're recording, so we have the
Okay.
video of it. But all
I'll
right,
be home in like 2 minutes, so I can do it then.
okay. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, can everybody see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I now call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. Welcome to ANC 1E's June General Body Meeting. A few administrative notes as we get started. Today's meeting is being recorded. Closed caption is available for each user by clicking on the button on the toolbar below. Please submit questions through the Q&A function also located on the toolbar below. Commissioners will be keeping an eye on the Q&A throughout the evening. If you're calling in rather than participating through the web, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. I'll now ask Secretary Grant to please conduct the roll call.
Great. Commissioner Howard.
Present.
Great. Commissioner Hawker. Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Newland.
Present.
Commissioner Jacobson. And Commissioner Footer is here. All right, we have 6 of 7 seated.
I think we have 5 of 7.
5 who else? Oh,
Because Commissioner Hawker's
oh,
not
that's
here.
right. 5. Sorry. Yep, thank you. 5 of 7.
Thank you very much. With that we have quorum. All right. Per DC law, the ANC 1E meeting was noticed to the community via listserv, social media, website, and e-calendar. All right, now moving to the approval of the agenda. I'm gonna run through the agenda, and then we will move forward. So we'll start off with the consent agenda, which we only have one item in there, which is the the meeting minutes from last month. Then we have community announcements. I'll get to this, but we have 2 special guests with us tonight. Then we'll move to official business. Under Zoning and Economic Development Committee, we have 3 resolutions. Mr. Michael Ray is available to join us when we get closer to this. We just need to ping him about 5 minutes beforehand. For Transportation Public Space Committee, we don't have any resolutions. Public Safety and Engagement Committee, we have 1. And then under other business, we have another resolution for consideration. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right. Hearing none, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I move with unanimous consent that we adopt the agenda.
Thank you very much. Is there any dissent? All right. Hearing none, the motion passes and the agenda is adopted. All right. Moving on to our consent agenda. Just a reminder, all matters listed under consent are considered by the commission to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any commissioner may, however, remove an item from the consent agenda by request. The consent agenda this month consists of just the minutes from last month. Do commissioners have any edits or thoughts with respect to the consent agenda they would like to move for further consideration? All right, hearing none, I'll now accept a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I move with unanimous consent that we adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you very much. Is there any dissent? All right, hearing none. The motion passes and the consent agenda is adopted. Moving right along. All right, now moving to community announcements. So commissioners and members of the community can use this time to make public announcements, distribute information, or alert the community about issues. We'll start with 2 special guests this evening that will present on the city's FY26 budget. We'll start with Director Jackie Reyes with the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. And then later on this evening around 8 p.m., we will welcome Councilmember Brian Nadeau. Each presenter will have 10 minutes to present and then take questions from commissioners and then the public. After our special guests, we'll move to commissioners, then the mayor's office of community relations and services, also known as MOKers, and then members of the public. All speakers after our special guests will have 3 minutes. If you're here to speak on an issue or topic under official business, please hold until we get to the agenda item later on in the meeting. So with that, we will promote Director Reyes. All right. Director, you should have just gotten an invitation to become a panelist. Great. And now you should have full range to be able to turn your microphone and camera on.
There. Can you guys see me?
We can hear you. Yes, now we can see you.
Perfect, perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. And now I will I'm gonna share my screen.
Great. And Director, thank you for joining us this evening. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you for having me. Okay, I am trying to get, how do I share it?
So at the bottom, you should see a button about halfway through the toolbar that says share with an
screen.
arrow going up.
I have it right there. And then I will, well, I would like to first of all say good afternoon, Chairman Brian Footer and other commissioners. And I am Jackie Reyes Janes, the Director of the Mayor's Office on Community Affairs. And I would like to say welcome, bienvenidos to all the residents in ANC 1E. I'm honored to be here tonight on behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser to share the updates on the mayor's FY 26 and financial plan, better known as the Grow DC, and to address any questions you may have about investments, priorities, and path forward. I also want to acknowledge that Anthony Robertson is here from the Mayor's Office on Community Relations Services, better known as the MOKER One. As many of you know, the mayor introduced the Grow DC supplemental budget on May 27th. This budget recognized the tough physical reality we're in, and still we have to protect the core services and make strategic forward-looking choices. This means no furloughs or layoffs and no school closures. Full summer programming remains in place, and there is no disruption on the PKIP funding, which I know matters deeply to this community and all DC residents. In short, the mayor's budget is just not a response to our current physical challenges, but is the blueprint to the Grow DC for everyone, including the residents of Parkview, Pleasant Plains, Howard University neighborhoods. Thank you for your continued advocacy as an ANC commissioner. I know that it's hard and you do it out of the labor of your heart. So I want to start as a Ward 1 person that live here in Ward 1. What is this going to affect the district, the best ward in the city, right? So one of the first things that you can see are in this year's proposing budget is housing and economic development.
Director, really quickly, I apologize to cut you off. Are you sharing your screen? Because we can't see anything.
I thought I did. So it's share. Give me 1 second.
When you hit share, it'll take you, if you pick the screen 1 or 2, or if you under application windows, you should see your presentation as one of the windows. Click on that, and at the bottom, hit share again. You'll see a little blue button.
Okay.
There you go.
So now I'm sharing.
You're sharing your screen, and we can see your Zoom.
Okay. So now I can go back. Sorry.
PDF or what?
You might want to tell her to share the window
Hold on.
or the screen with the presentation on it.
Can you see it now?
Not
Yes.
Can you see the Ward 1 mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so yes.
Great.
Okay. So now here, back in the game. So what it matters to the district Ward 1, 18 million to complete the redevelopment of Bruce Monroe, one of the district's new community sites. And I know this has been a long coming for the Bruce Monroe site on Georgia Avenue. 15 million to support the transportation and other public infrastructure needs in the vicinity of Howard University. Learning and recreation, 144 million to modernize, renovate public schools, including Tatman, that it has been doing for the past, I think, early in the year. Bruce Monroe at Parkview, 9 million to support planning for small community parks in the Lower Georgia Avenue area, Columbia Heights, and Mount Pleasant. 13 million to rebuild the Rita Bright Community Center, 5 million to renovate Parkview Recreation Center, in which I'm here tonight. Transportation and environment, 402 million to maintain streets, sidewalks, and alleys citywide. 199 million citywide for intervention to improve pedestrians, bicycle safety, including making temporary safety installations permanent and installing new safety infrastructures near schools. 13 million to expand the capital bike share citywide. 5 million for the U Street Corridor Northwest Safety Quickly Built project. And some of the accomplishments since 2015 that I know that we hit a few middle schools, Myers in 2023, Columbia Heights in 2023. But I will keep it short here, and I will just share with these slides with you. But the main focus is what is coming up, and I will take questions. But also, I wanted to share what was coming down for Ward 1 in a few areas, and then you can we can share your questions in regards to your special needs in these neighborhoods that you represent. So, like I said, now can you see this slide?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So this is the overall budget, and as you know, what happened to COVID, we were doing the comeback. So last year we had a more how we to keep DC residents in DC. So more than 50 more. Last year, DC was growing faster than all 50 states, and our population is back over 700,000. And the fast improving urban school district, since for the past 15 years, it has been steady growing. This violent crime is the lowest and been there for 3 decades. But I know that some of you will have questions about that and what we're going to be doing about fighting crime. Ranked the #1 park system in the country, but the trusted of public land for 5 years consecutive. 28 consecutive clean audits, 26 million visitors, 29 consecutive balanced budgets, and DC led nations in commercial to residents and conversions into 2024. So like I said before, the bottom line, no furloughs with this challenging budget that it has been it's taken more than enough time to present the budget and get it signed, but we have no furloughs, no layoffs, no facility closures, a fully funded public safety and public education ecosystem, no changes to the summer programming. As we can see the impact of the federal government job losses, we can see that especially in DC, we had a lot of people that work in the federal government, and we have created a website that people can go, but the revenue estimates show how the real impact in DC. The revenues were revised downward by $1 billion over the next 4 years, driven by expected loss of 40,000 jobs, reduced income, consumer spending, and the continued impacts of the remote work on the commercial office market. So what's coming up for the future? The structural balance we brought to DC into a balanced financial plan. We did not increase the use of fund balance in the financial plan. We shifted the fund balance to meet the spending needs in the given fiscal year. So one of the reductions that we made 243 million reductions including stopping new programs that had not yet started. We have saved 100 million efficiencies through our lease savings, energy savings, telecom savings, and smart deployment and resources across the financial plan. Make 1 billion of reduction to programs and services across FY27 and FY29. The rise has in cost. We made policy changes to set up programs that were growing far faster than our revenues to avoid nearly 500 million in new cost. Revenues, we did not introduce new taxes. We capture and budgeted revenues. We repurpose existing revenues to ensure our resources align with our growth agenda. So what that means with the growth agenda? It is to build a growth agenda. We ask ourselves, how do we keep DC families in DC and attract new residents? That this create economic activity to fund city services and programs. That this attract new business and create new jobs for DC residents. Those are the three main
Director, I'm so sorry, but we're coming up on, you have about 2 more minutes and I see you have a lot more slides. Do you want to maybe sum up some of the critical key points? Because I know that the commission has been part of this presentation a couple of times when we attended the mayor's budget forum. So what would you like to articulate as something that is very important that we should start to focus on as we prepare to give you questions?
Okay, I'm going to stop here. Now you can. So the main thing that I wanted for you guys to think about is back to your neighborhoods, right? So what is going to affect the budget in Parkview, Pleasant Plains, and Howard University? You know, and I will tell you, like the Park Morton development, I know that it's people are going to be able to move in by July 15, the new phase. What is going to be the Bruce Monroe new development? How you guys want to be involved into it? And the other one is the Parkview Recreation Center, right? So those are the things that I want for you to think about, how we want to have a conversation with the commissioners and how we can better on public safety. I know that we share 2 commanders from 4D and 1 and 3D. So we can talk about those things. What is that gonna look like for your special neighborhoods? And I can take any questions now.
Great, thank you so much. Commissioners, let's start with some questions. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. Commissioner Hawker.
Hi, thank you so much for that presentation, Ms. Reyes. I am the ANC commissioner that represents the houses that go all the way up to the Bruce Monroe Park edge. And then Bruce Monroe Park itself is not in my ANC. But I am very curious to know what the mayor's office and any other planning agencies agendas are for including the ANC in the development, the planning, the traffic flow, because this is literally right next door to me and my ANC. I'm very curious to hear what the plans are to keep us involved and informed with this process.
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner, for that question. Yes, and in my previous life, I was the outreach coordinator for Jim Graham, and since then I was very involved and I know how the people feels like early on be talking and reaching out to the commissioners and the people that are going to be affected with the development. So I know that the economic development team led by Nina Albert, we will be going to the communities. So and here that is Anthony Robertson. We will work with them and make sure that everybody has the information in the language that they can understand, because I know I understand the neighborhood, Georgia Avenue and Agent. So we want to make sure that everybody understands and how this is going to affect, like the traffic plan that you talk about, because it's going to be a big development. And I can drop my email here because we have a team that we're going to be working with that development.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Commissioner Howard, did you have your hand up? Oh, yes.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I appreciate the information today. And I just want to say thank you for the investment in Parkview Rec Center. I think it's a hidden gem here, a special place in our neighborhood. And so it's in my ANC. And so I'm just excited to see that come to fruition there. And I think I appreciate the mayor's continued focus too on crime and public safety. I think we've got a lot of issues, more in the Georgia Otis area, and we've been it's been like ongoing problem for a long time, and just continue to invest in those resources. I think stuff like Park Center after school programming is really going to help, particularly as we approach the summer months. And then again down, Bruce, remember the pool we've got down there on Georgia Avenue as well. I think all those are great things to be investing in. So we really appreciate your work there. And all around. So I just want to say thank you for making.
Yes, and like I said, I'm here around here, and then we will.
Commissioner Howard, did you actually have a question?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Commissioner Jacobson?
Thanks, Chair Footer. Thank you for joining us tonight, Director Reyes. I was just curious on the logic of including the sanctuary city repeal in the budget proposal. I'm personally against repealing the sanctuary city law that's in place. I'm just curious why it was decided to be put in the budget proposal by the mayor.
Yes, great question. So you know that sanctuary city has been a term, and I have been very, given that I am a Latina, and the programs that we have, the services that we have for the special community that is immigrants in the city, the services will be kept the same. For us, like my offices are 14 special interest offices, and directors are, the mandate that we have is to give services. We don't check on immigration status. Even the police officers, they don't check. And the reason why we have it the way we have it is because if you're a victim of a crime, you shouldn't be worried about, if I am a victim of a crime, the immigration is going to be called on me. So that is not.
Director, I'm so sorry. I just want to be respectful of time. I think the question was, what was the rationale for repealing the sanctuary city law in the mayor's budget?
I think I said that it was a term, but we are not changing the services.
Commissioner Jacobson, did you have a follow-up?
We can, I guess it's not, I know we're not necessarily changing services, but there is a repeal of the sanctuary city law within the budget, but we can follow up offline.
I'd be gladly to follow up with you.
Other questions, commissioners? All right. I did want to ask about, I have two questions. One is around safety. So I know that the safety is a large priority for the mayor, and that there are some important investments in MPD, FEMS, and others. But we did notice that there were some cuts to some programs that were more community-based that are around crime prevention. Can you walk us through a little bit of what was the rationale and what is going to take its place?
So if you can be specific on the programs that are going to be affected in this, I will be better able to address the question. Like, what programs are you worried about?
And I'm taking Commissioner Newland's thunder. Commissioner Newland, do you want to elaborate?
I was going to ask Commissioner Brown to jump in here, but I think the funding was eliminated, or at least not maintained at specific levels, for the violence interrupter program. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the violence interrupters program, is that with the one's office?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's more like a policy change director. And I was wondering if you have some insights to that.
Yes. So that right now, as you can see, they're negotiating the back and forth and DC Council with that program. But we have the other program. They will be from that I think it's in Columbia Heights, but we will. The mayor is for to keep that program. So I know that you guys are aware of that, right? So we are into keeping the violence interrupter program. So we just have to be a little bit patient on it, but I know that is about transferring and just it's about where is it gonna be housed at. But right now, the mayor has her proposal is to keep that program going.
Yeah. And for Ward 1, I hope that we keep our violence interrupter programs in the targeted neighborhoods where the data is showing they're the most violent crimes. So we just want to make sure that that's secured in the budget and dedicated violence interrupters for our ward. And we're going to present a resolution before this ANC. So maybe Commissioner Newland, we can put Director Reyes and some folks in the mayor's office on the resolution before we submit it.
Yes.
Echoing those
I-
concerns as well.
And I do want to just follow up. So the mayor was very targeted in how she was making some of her decisions. And so she clearly had some plans on what she was going to do and how she came up with the cut. So can you walk us through what was the rationale for the cut to the specific programs and what the plan is hypothetically going to be for FY26 if the budget was going to be passed right now?
So as I said, the programming were not gonna be cut. Like I think I stated on my presentation also, for especially for public safety, and she was very bold on that. You know that what the cuts where it came from is the programs that had not been initiated yet. So I don't want people to get confused. All the programs for public safety, she wanted to be intact to those. The program that has not been initiated yet, those are the ones coming up FY26 and 27. But right now, we are not gonna touch that program. That's her proposal. That's Mayor Bowser's proposal.
Just to put a fine point on it, so Director Reyes, you're saying that the mayor's proposal does not take any money away from the violence interrupters citywide, that it's the same as it was in FY25.
25, yes. That's what I just presented.
The other piece I wanted to ask about was around healthcare. So I know that a right sizing program costs specifically around Medicaid. Can you walk us through some of that, what the impact is going to be, particularly to a number of our seniors in the community?
Yes, and then I think that Jenny Reed, there have been like some like in the requirement, it has been the spectrum of what is the eligibility requirement, how they're gonna come in person. Those were like the proposals. That's what I understand. But I will make sure that I don't want to say something that I'm not sure about it. I will get back to you on that because I want to be very careful on like the eligibility requirements that are for the healthcare because it has been like two different pockets of that I need to get more information on.
Okay. That would be great. Yeah, would love to hear more about what the impacts are going to be around that. All right, commissioners, any other questions before we move to community members? All right, hearing none. Members of the community, if you have any questions for Director Reyes, please raise your hand. We'll call on you in the order in which you raise them. If you are joining us via phone rather than online, which it looks like nobody is doing, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Give it a minute for people to find the raise your hand button in case they want to ask a question. All right, being none. Commissioners, if there are no other questions, then I will say thank you very much, Director Reyes, for joining us this evening. We look forward to hearing some follow-up on some of these matters and appreciate your time.
Thank you. And I will drop my information in the notes section.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Mil gracias.
Right. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to, Commissioner Jacobson, I'm going to make you a co-host if you don't mind just helping to, thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate that. All right. As I mentioned earlier, we are expecting Councilmember Nadeau to join us, but she'll be here at around 8 o'clock. And so wherever we are, we'll wrap up that discussion and then immediately turn to her for a similar presentation on the FY26 budget. So with that, we will go next to commissioners with any announcements. If you have any announcements, please raise your hand. Commissioner Jacobson.
Thanks, Chair Footer. I just wanted to note a community concern that happened last week. Oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute. That happened last week. I had a constituent reach out because they saw a Waymo vehicle, which is an autonomous vehicle, operating without an operator, so without someone in the driver's seat. I spoke to DDOT about this, and there are no AV companies, autonomous vehicle companies, that are approved for autonomous operations at this point. They all have to have an operator, so they all have to have a driver physically in the passenger seat. So if you see any autonomous vehicle companies operating without a driver, there's an email that you can reach out to file a complaint with DDOT, and I will drop that email in the chat.
Thank you very much.
And
Awesome.
sorry, the email address
Please.
is self-driving at dc.gov, and I'll put that in the chat now.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawker.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone in attendance know that I'm currently accepting comments, questions, concerns, anything related to the stipulated license as well as the license application for Rain Lounge and Restaurant LLC located on the 3100, nope. I'm going to get the address wrong, but it's on Georgia Avenue. I apologize. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're in the process of taking comments, and I've spoken to a couple of constituents about it already, but I wanted to make the announcement that I am both drafting a settlement agreement draft only currently in this point, but I also wanted to let the community know that I've heard from other community members and I'm actively seeking to hear more from anybody who has any thoughts, feelings, questions, and concerns about the Rain Lounge and Restaurant.
And Commissioner, you were correct. It's 3124 Georgia Ave.
Wonderful. Okay, it's the 3100 block of Georgia.
All right. Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Howard.
Just want to, for those folks who live, I'm at Manor and Park Place. For those in the area who had their power go out yesterday, rest assured this is something we've been trying to address as a commission. In April, we had a Pepco representative come and laid out our case there. We were supposed to be getting an update, and literally 2 days after that meeting, the power went out again for the ninth time in 10 months, and then last time marked the 10th time in about 11 months. So it's not broadly, it seems to be a few blocks here in Parkview, the central part of Parkview. As far as I can tell, basically between Princeton down to Luray and east to Warder, West Warder seems generally fine, though they have had outages as well. So we know for sure there's one transformer that's gone out 3 times. Every time power goes out, I go out there and talk to them. I know Audra's, the Commissioner Grant's been out there as well. I think we're all getting to know the Pepco guys very well. We have filed I filed yesterday a complaint with the Public Service Commission. We filed a formal complaint with the People's Advocate. In this last meeting, we had put forth a resolution supporting that complaint there as well. We are trying to figure out how to address this. Want to give PEPCO, some time here to figure out what's going on and to get back with us. But it is a problem. I know folks were blowing my phone up yesterday. Someone has a 13-week-old in this heat. Another senior citizen, she's worried about her mom. We're trying to figure this out. I'm being affected, so I'm just as frustrated as you all. And I know Commissioner Grant's power has had some issues too. So, we welcome ideas and feedback. All I can do is say everyone is welcome to file complaints to the Public Service Commission. I'll drop that link in the chat. I think the more the merrier. And then we as a commission may decide to take an action later. But PEPCO called me yesterday after the power outage, confirmed that they apologized. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and they promised to get back to me. They also said that back in April. So, in the grand scheme of things, 2 months, 3 months, or 2 months is a long time, but it is when you continually lose power. So, rest assured we're on it. I think if anybody wants to send their thoughts or complaints, please, you can go to the website, anc1e.org, fill out the contact form there. It'll go to all of us. Please share.
Commissioner Howard, you brought up such a good point about submitting a complaint to the People's Council. Can you just explain that just a little bit more, because it's so important?
Yeah, so there's two entities in the District of Columbia that are relevant here. One is the Public Service Commission of the District of Columbia. It's kind of a quasi-judicial agency that regulates energy and telecom serving DC. So it's basically a utility regulator. Most states have a Public Service Commission. And then there's DC also has an Office of People's Advocacy, and I forget the exact title. I'm Googling it now. Public Advocacy Division, or excuse me, Office of People's Counsel. So it's opc-dc.gov. It is an office that is essentially designed to advocate for the people. So you get their attention, you make a filing, which we have done, and as a council, and then they kind of advocate for the citizens within kind of the systemic issues of government. So I'm sure there's a more formal explanation of what they do, but that I encourage both people to file complaints. I'm going to drop both links into the chat. We're raising this to every attention we can. Media may be another way to get involved. I've flagged this for the council member as well. I mean, just our own council member may start trying to elevate that bigger. This is starting to become really annoying, and safety risk if heat continues to be as high as it is. And it's not tied to any weather. I mean, you can ask anybody. It has been beautiful outside. It has been chilly outside. It has been hot outside. It has been fair weather. I don't think it's been raining at any time we've gone out. So it's just all over the place. It's not weather related. I feel comfortable saying that. So we're doing our best here.
Thank you. Any other comments or announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll go to community members. Members of the community, if you have an announcement that you would like to share with the group, please raise your hand. Again, if you are here to discuss a matter that's going to be part of our official business, please wait until that comes up. But I see that we have Laura Gonzalez and Commissioner Jacobson. Do you mind? Thank you very much. Ms. Gonzalez, if you are speaking, you are on mute.
Good afternoon. Hello, commissioners. My name is Laura Gonzalez, and I'm with the DC Office of Human Rights Language Access Program. I'll be very quick. Thank you so much for the time. I'm just here to inform you all the language reimbursement for fiscal year 25. ANCs under the Advisory Neighborhood Commission Omnibus Act of 2016, ANCs can be reimbursed by the Office of Human Rights for costs related to translation and interpretation services and purchase or rental of assistive listening systems, ensuring participation for residents and commissioners with LEP or NEP proficiency. And this is available for interpretation for meetings, including in-person or video remote interpretation, as well as document translation and assisted listening systems. And I just want to note that under the ANC Omnibus Act of 2016, it does not include reimbursement for American Sign Language. But the date for that to submit the ANC reimbursement form, including the invoice, the service quotes, and proof of payment, would be to my email, which is Laura, Laura, Gonzalez, Gonzalez, @dc.gov, including the OENC email before the deadline, which is October 6, 2025 for the fiscal year. And that was my announcement. I will now take questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions? All right. Thank you very much. Members, thank you. Members of the community, if you have any announcements, please raise your hand. All right, and I apologize profusely. Anthony Robertson, I did not call on you, and I would love to invite you up now to give a update from the Moker's office.
I promoted Anthony to panelist.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
How you doing? How y'all doing this evening? We have a few announcements I want to make. But before I start, I want to make sure that we all check on our neighbors. It's hot out there, so make sure that, you know what I'm saying, we're checking on our seniors. And the cooling spot for in Ward 1, I think the closest one is Columbia Heights Rec Center. And just want to make sure that everyone knows where the cooling stations are. And I wanted this to circle back real quick and give just a little more added information, clarity to one of the questions that was asked. The money for the ones program that we was discussing with Director Reyes, the money that was used was the surplus, and there's always been a surplus. So the money that was already allocated for the ones was not touched. So that money's not being moved anywhere. It was the surplus that was being used. That was already not allocated for or something. And just let everybody know that I'm Anthony Robertson. I'm the Ward 1 manager for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations Services. I'm your MOKR. Anything that you need escalated, like the PEPCO, the power going out on Commissioner Howard, please put me on that email as well. And also anybody, when we have storms or if you know these heat like this, if your power go out, please contact the mayor's office. Please let us know. We will be able to help escalate that.
I'll say that you know, I think the council member was on the email chain I sent Pepco, and maybe that was the magic, because within 10 minutes we had 7 Pepco trucks. You know, so you know, I appreciate your effort here, but it's clearly an infrastructure issue. And anyway, so thank you.
No problem. And so moving on real quick, we have we had a cleanup a few weeks ago at Bancroft. That was pretty successful. So there's no more cleanups for Ward 1, but that doesn't mean that you can't clean up your block. And we're encouraging everybody to adopt a block through Clean City. And if you are in need of information, I've dropped my information in the chat. So if you reach out to me, I'll connect you to Clean City. And that's really actually about it. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Oh, there is one thing. The second part about the sanctuary city part, that I know the question was, I believe the question was, what was the rationale behind it? But I was going to go and speak to Director Reyes' part about it, that MPD's posture is not changing. The only thing that I believe the language changes is DOC's posture versus MPD's posture. So MPD will not be participating in any ice raids, anything like that. So I just want to clarify that. But I know that wasn't the question. Was what was the rationale for? But any questions?
Just because you brought it up, do you have any kind of more information that you'd like to share? As we have a resolution tonight similar to the violence interrupters. We have a resolution about sanctuary cities. So is anything that you'd like to kind of continue to share about the rationale for why that was an important thing to include in this budget?
Not at this moment, but what I will do, I have a meeting set up I believe it's Friday, that I can actually give you share some of the information from that meeting Friday with the commissioners. I'll put it on an email thread for y'all, and I'll ask that specific question.
That'd be great. Thank you. All right, members of the community, any questions for, oh, I apologize. Commissioners, any questions for Anthony? All right, hearing none. Members of the public, any questions for Anthony, the Ward 1 Moker? All right, seeing none. Anthony, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy.
Thank you. You too. All right, I'm going to share the agenda again. All right. Next, we are going to move on to official business, which has been organized into our 3 standing committees. The committee chairs will begin by providing a brief update on their committee's activities from June. Then we will walk through each item of business and they will have 5 minutes per item to present. They'll take questions from commissioners and audience members until a motion is proposed. Just as a quick reminder, as we call Mr. Ray from the Zoning and Economic Development Committee to join us to present on some of the resolutions that came out of their committee, that we are expecting the council member to join us at 8 o'clock. So we will wrap any conversation. When she gets here, we'll wrap any conversations, we'll pause, we'll come back to her presentation. When she's done, we're done with that, we will resume our business. So with that, Mr. Ray, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for putting this first or earlier. And I'm going to try to go fast because I really do want to try to get it in maybe before the council member gets on. We did have a meeting and we met on all 3 of these at the last meeting. And I'll just say in advance that the committee voted in support of all 3 applications. So just know that as we start to get there. The very first is the application for Hobart Street. I believe it was 7. Sorry, you're a little low on the thank you. 725 Hobart Place. This was a property that was converted into 3 units without going through the proper channels. The units were then purchased by the applicant, TAM and TRAN, and they only realized when they went to go file for some paperwork, because if they're rentals, they're currently used as rentals. They went to file some paperwork and found out that they did not have a proper certificate of occupancy. And this prompted others to look into it and realize, yeah, this was not supposed to be 3 units. It was only supposed to be 2 units. So the trans bought it this way. They came and talked to the committee about this, and we suggested that they go back and try to find some evidence supporting the idea that it was purchased this way and that they had nothing to do with the actual conversion to the 3 units illegally. They were able to secure not only the 3 leases that existed prior to them purchasing the property, but then also got one of the residents happens to have been there the whole time and was aware of when he moved in, and then has given an affidavit certifying that was in fact the case. So based on that information and the fact that the ANC, the committee, was unable to identify any actual impacts to the neighboring properties. I mean, basically, this unit has operated as 3 units the whole time. The only reason that it can't normally be 3 units is that it's on a lot that's too small to allow for 3 units in the RF1 zone. So the recommendation was that we don't see a reason that the community would be negatively impacted if the Board of Zoning Adjustment goes ahead and gives them a waiver to allow those 3 units to continue to exist. The current rental units the people who are currently renting those places would be allowed to continue to live there. Not the way we would like to see this kind of thing happen, but it is where it is, and they're trying to make the best of it and get it all legal. So any questions I can try to answer on that particular case?
Mr. Hawker.
I do have a quick question. Does the 3 units change the way that FEMS or OUC would respond to any calls to that area, or is that part of a zoning change? My primary concern is just making sure, because there have been cases of this in the past of multiple units at a location sort of back zoned, if you will, where that has caused an issue with proper fire and emergency response. So I just wanted to double check.
Yeah. I mean, so they're going to need to get, in order to get that certificate of occupancy, they're also going to have to file their plans. You know, you're bringing up a point that actually would fall over to the Office of Buildings, because they're going to have to file plans that show what those units look like and make sure that they are up to code. So it would impact to some degree the access. I mean, I'm not an expert in this field. It wouldn't be a zoning question per se, so I just wanted to make that clear. The part that these folks would handle at this stage would not be a zoning question. Now, they may run into a problem later on. I think if anything, it would, however, fix the issue that right now, FEMS thinks there's only 2 units there, and God forbid they try to make a response and clear what they think is a unit and find out, oh no, there's actually a whole other unit upstairs where people are living. So this would get all of that on the up and up.
Okay. Well, didn't know if that was zoning or buildings, but obviously.
Yeah. But that would be the separation. The zoning folks don't get into the nitty gritty of, you know, how far is the stairwell allowed to be from the doorway and those kinds of things.
Right.
But they will probably have to go through that once this part of it gets approved. Because if this doesn't get approved, then they can't move forward to the plans.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Sure.
Thank you for letting me know.
No problem. Anyone else? All right. I guess we would go to, does anyone in the community have any questions about this particular case?
If you do, please feel free to raise your hand. We're seeing none.
Okay. Then with that, I would make a motion that we accept this. Sorry,
I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't make it right. You're absolutely right. Thank you for stopping me.
But we miss you, and we wish that you.
No, please go ahead. I'm glad you stopped me. I'm glad you did.
On behalf of Michael Ray, I move to accept approve this application.
There is a motion before us to approve the adoption of the BZA case residing at 725 Hobart Place Northwest, which is case number 21307. Is there a second?
Second.
All
right, we've second. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And then Commissioner Hawker,
I'm so sorry. I'm on it.
Thank you very much. All right. Are there any? God, we haven't done that in so long. I have to actually look at my script. I apologize. Any nays? And any abstentions? Great. With 7 votes in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions, the motion passes and the resolution is adopted. All right.
Okay.
Go to the next one.
The next one. I'll let you pull it up here, and then I'll talk once I make sure we're on the right one.
Sure.
It's probably Howard University.
That is correct.
Now this is a zoning commission case. You know, they're different bodies, same form. Anyway, Howard University would like to use their existing parking lots between Sherman and I think it's 8th. Use a portion of those parking lots for additional temporary classroom space. The need for the additional classroom space is because the physics building and I believe another one, maybe the mathematics building, are both in need of significant renovations, which will make them inoperable for the time being, which will allow them. So then the students will meet here instead of in their regular buildings while those renovations are underway. In order to do this, the current plan, the campus plan, calls for these parking lots to be converted into student housing. So they would need a temporary use to allow for the classroom spaces instead of the campus housing. Now, we had a very lengthy discussion on, and one of the issues that is raised here in the document is we really want to see that campus housing get built. No one wants to see that get significantly delayed. However, it would actually take some time for the university to move through the permitting process to get the plans approved for building that new housing. And so while that process is ongoing, this temporary use for classroom space would be allowed. We were able to negotiate with them to try to get it done in 5 years rather than the 10 that they asked for originally. So we're hoping that they can get it done within the 5-year time frame and start to build, construct this housing for students, which is very much needed, so that people don't have to be far from the campus and can instead be right here. So they agreed to try to get it done in 5 years. They may have to come back, 5 years from now and do an extension. That is a possibility, but at least this gives them a reason to try and get it done on that timeline. And then the other thing that the community raised was the current. There are some current temporary units there now. They don't look that great. And so we discussed at some length coming up with a beautification plan, and they really took to it. They're engaging their arts department, they're engaging their architecture departments there, so they're going to bring the students involved and get them involved in coming up with what the graphics around the fencing could look like, what the plantings should be, and try to make it look a little bit more like the main, not like the main campus, but to have sort of a look and feel of Howard University as opposed to a very temporary, austere space that those of us that don't go to classes there have to look at on a regular basis. So we really were very impressed with how they put that together. And so all of that language will be included in the application that they will be filing, and should be good anyway, which is the reason that the committee supported this. Any questions on Howard University?
Where are the classrooms now?
So right now they're in the regular buildings.
Okay.
So they will bring in modular units that they will literally just plop right down onto the parking lots, and then they'll use those for the next several years until the buildings are ready again.
They're renovating the buildings.
So they're renovating the classrooms. I mean.
They're renovating so they've got they're very nice but unfortunately very old buildings on the main Howard University campus. So these students, instead of going to those buildings, will come here to the temporary modular units while they renovate the main building.
Got a series of these at the House of Representatives as they're renovating.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely, I am sure.
As long as they have air conditioning, I think we're.
yeah, that's probably a big part of it.
All right, anyone questions for Mr. Ray?
I'm excited for this because the parking lot is also very ugly. So any changes there will be an improvement.
Yes, it will be.
I have a quick question. One of the follow-up pieces that we did have for Howard University when they came back to the committee was to just give an update on what the final plan was for supporting the 930 Club and the agreement that they have. Was that finalized?
Yeah, they think so. They believe that the number of parking spaces that would still be available will meet the requirement. But if at any point it does not, they have sufficient parking within a radius. I believe their agreement is that it has to be within, and I'm making this up, it could be 500 feet, it could be a half a mile, I'm not sure. But within the radius that is agreed to in their agreement with the 930 Club, they have additional parking spaces that could then be devoted to them in that case. So they think that they might actually be able to accommodate all the need with what's left, but if they can't, they have other spaces that they can turn to.
Backland. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from commissioners? All right, members of the public, any questions for Mr. Ray or with respect to the resolution? So please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, if there are no other questions, I'll now accept a motion to adopt the resolution.
I make a motion with unanimous consent that we adopt the report as written.
Is there any dissent? All right, hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is adopted. I am looking at our attendees, and we have Councilmember Brianna Nadeau with us.
Could I really? I mean, this last one is so fast. It really is. Could she please let me get this done?
Sure. Well, let's while I'll quickly pull up the next resolution, and then if Commissioner Jacobson, if you can invite the council member to join us, and we'll do this very
Yes.
fast.
She told me no.
And I appreciate her waiting just another 3 minutes probably while we do this.
She misses the ANC work so much. She just really wants to see it.
All right, so the next one is for the McMillan redevelopment. McMillan is not in, and I want to say this very clearly, McMillan is not in ANC 1E. McMillan is abutting ANC 1E. So the ANC in Ward 5 is actually the predominant person or group taking care of this. But as an abutting ANC, we are also given an update and an opportunity to weigh in. And so that this report, again, to the Zoning Commission is about the changes. The changes are, as listed here on the report, are a reduction of their the grocery space. In the time that it has taken to get this redevelopment going, they found that they cannot locate a grocer that is interested in that property at a full-size 660,000 square foot grocery space. But they are able to find people in the 25 to 30,000 square foot grocery space, which is still a very sizable Trader Joe's style kind of grocer. So they are asking for an ability to reduce the grocery size to that smaller level. They want to eliminate a pedestrian bridge that was overhead, which a lot of people are actually kind of glad it will be gone because it improves the view spaces. They are consolidating the senior units into a single standalone building, which in tower, which will allow it to be developed simultaneous with the other properties. And they think it will also potentially allow them to offer more senior living units at a better mix of income levels. And then finally, it would allow them to use some of the units on the property as lodging spaces instead of residential units based on where the market happens to be at the time. They do find that because it is a heavy medical use in the area, both across the street and on the property, that there is a need for lodging for when people, when sick families, have to be there, then they want to be near their loved ones. There's a need for a hoteling kind of space. So they're thinking that mix would be better, more beneficial. Anyway, all that is to be said. They are working with their local ANC on all of these issues. Certainly, this report says to recommend whatever the ANC comes up with, it should be good. But that this commission did not identify anything that needed to be addressed, and therefore they are in support. Any questions?
I just want to add to that. I know that it was right at the beginning of when our commission started this term, but the planners or the group from this organization came and presented before us in January, I believe. And so this is them following up on the proposal that they had brought to our attention, just putting it on our radar. Now it's time for us to actually take a vote on it.
Great. I think you could I see a typo at that very last line in the main block where it says 1E did not identify any additional concerns, not and additional concerns. Any. Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, any questions? All right, members of the public, any questions with respect to the resolution or questions for Mr. Ray? Please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, I will now accept a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move with unanimous consent that we adopt the resolution as written.
Thank you very much. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Ray, thank you so much. Just really quickly to wrap up, do you want to announce when your next meeting is?
Can you remind me when our next meeting is?
I absolutely can. It is going to be
looking.
Isn't it
July 9th? July 9th. The next meeting would be July 9th. So if you have any zoning or alcohol licensing questions, they can be answered there. And again, I thank Councilmember Nadeau for that moment of pause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Councilmember, welcome.
See, I didn't know I was going to get my fill of Michael Ray tonight. That was a special treat.
Right? Surprise.
Um,
Councilmember, thank you for joining us. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I know you've already had a very busy night, so I am happy to be here and bring some updates from the council. We are, as you probably know, really in the mix on the budget right now. We voted this evening on the last committee markup, and in 2 weeks, the entire council will vote on the budget. It's a very truncated schedule because we got the budget 8 weeks late, and we're going to be going straight in to recess, and won't be finishing it until August, when normally we finish right around Memorial Day. So it's we're all trying to go with the flow here, notwithstanding some drama today, which I will probably mention in a minute. But let me get through my prepared talking points first, and then I can tell you about any drama you might like to hear about. Okay, so I'm the chair of the Committee on Public Works and Operations, which has a deep impact on the ward and the city. We call ourselves the Nitty Gritty City Committee because we are over things like trash collection and parking and human rights and all kinds of very basic services that the city provides people. So the committee's budget, my committee spent a lot of time looking at excess spending or underspending or unexplained allocations and taking those and reallocating them both through our budget, but also being generous and sharing with other committees that we're trying to fill holes on some citywide and ward priorities. So I feel pretty great about the work we were able to do just at the committee level, even though there's still more to do at the committee of the whole. To tell you, one of the things that I hear all the time from residents in this ward: public litter, trash cans, composting, fake tags, road safety, and my budget has it all. We're putting 350 more litter cans out there, 10 more smart bins for composting, and we are fully funding the fake tags bill and the STEER Act, which allow us to go after vehicles with fake, fraudulent or paper tags, expired tags quickly, and to immobilize them. And then also with the road safety, helping get that point system in place over at the DMV. We'll be getting the fake tags registry together at the DMV, and all of that was all passed last year and the year before, and now we can finally have it all funded. In the category of keeping the city clean and livable, improvements to waste collection, improving trash collection at parks. This is a huge thing. I know a handful of you have parks in your SMD, and when there is trash collection needed, it's hard to know who to call. We are moving it all to DPW, recycling, trash in parks, all of it. And Councilmember Lewis George and I worked together. She sent the money. I'm going to help with the implementation. So now we don't have to keep asking the question, why are there so many people responsible for waste management in our parks? The answer will be, there's only one. It's the Department of Public Works. So we funded that change, and we'll be working with those two agencies, the Department of General Service and Department of Public Works, to have them shift that operation over the next year. I was able to expand the availability of public restrooms across the city in my committee, and we're going to be making that public restroom pilot permanent. There is a new one at the very bottom of 1E, technically in 1B, but an area that you all know well, which is that area of 6th and T near Howard Theater. Was able to get a public restroom. I paid for a public restroom to go in there, so there will be a throne there, and restored the funding for HIPS that's doing the street outreach there. And let's see what else. So the curbside composting program is going to expand from the current 9,000 up to 12,000 households. I already told you about the 10 new smart bins for composting. I strongly believe that getting our food waste out of our green cans is the way forward for getting rid of all the rats, because that is what they are feeding off of. You know, they know no bounds. They will climb into any can unless it is rat proof. And so that's why we're trying to get our composting program spread far and wide. Additional funding for graffiti removal, additional funding for dead animal collections. this kind of got big on the internet when we posted this bit of the budget. There's only 2 people in the city that collect animal carcasses. They are some of the hardest working people in the city. They pick up thousands a year. And so we put some extra funding in the budget, either for raises or for a 3rd person, so that they can keep on top of that. 20 new positions for cleaning the streets at DPW, more money for clean teams, and 2 more teams for litter, trash, and recycling collection, and new sweep inspectors. So this is all the fun that we get to have in the Public Works and Operations Committee. And there'll be a total of 10 thrown public restrooms across the city with this budget, and a new program manager at DPW to oversee and grow the permanent program so that we can start having them more, because I think we need 1 in 1E. Personally. All right, I already talked about the road safety. I've been speaking a little bit off the cuff, and I think that ends up being faster than reading what's in front of me. So hopefully that's good for you all. Oh, there's also an additional towing crew for DPW that we added, and an additional one from the mayor. So net 2 new towing crews, which is great. More to go after the cars and their owners. And one of the things to know is that it's not just about the crews, it's actually also about having enough lot space to put the towed vehicles. And so they're also working through some new regs that we've helped with that allows them to move those vehicles off more quickly, to either get them to scrap or auction more quickly, and to truncate the period of time for redemption. A lot of times when we're towing the vehicle, by then people have so many tickets, they're not really going to be able to redeem the car anyway. So condensing that timeline is helpful. In the category of supporting the rights, health, and well-being of residents, the budget from the mayor actually undercut many important advances we've made over the past decade in affordable housing, cash assistance to low-income families, and healthcare. So I was able to use funds we identified in my committee to address more than $6 million over 4 years for temporary assistance to needy families. That's our cash assistance program. And this reverses a really harmful change the mayor was trying to make, that really, it put us back in the 90s era with our policy. It's something that I had actually worked together with the Department of Human Services on when I had that committee to fix, and to put into law as a change that created incentives and bonuses for people to move up and out of poverty rather than penalties for living in poverty. I was able to restore funding to home visiting for our new parents, and partially restore the ombudsperson for children with my colleagues, and fund the Fairness and Human Rights Bill that's been waiting to be completely funded. I also identified $200,000 for the Vita Senior Center in Ward 1, whose budget was being slashed and served many of our residents across the city. But of course, being in Ward 1 has a strong draw, especially with all of our Spanish-speaking seniors. In 1E specifically, we were concerned about the Georgia Avenue Bus Priority Project because there were cuts in that program line at DDOT. But we have been reassured by DDOT that it is their top priority. That funding has been retained. Not that I'm happy that any bus priority projects were cut, but I was very worried about this. And I know 1E has weighed in on this in support of the project. Let's see what else. Maintains funding for park projects throughout the ward, including in 1E. So our Parkview rec budget is on track, our Bruce Monroe Park budget, and our Hobart Twins budget. And let's see. There was a little drama with public safety, and that's what I'm going to segue into next. Violence interruption programs are really key to safety in Ward 1. We have a history in many neighborhoods, including in 1E, of what's called crew-based violence. So these are neighborhood groups that, are affiliated with a certain block or neighborhood or building, and can be in conflict with others across the city. We've had that issue in Parkview. We've had 2 teams working in Parkview. One is the Cure the Streets team under the Attorney General, and one is the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. It turns out both of them have the same contractor right now, which is Intercity Collaborative. And that wasn't always the case. That's very recent. We've had a number of contractors in the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement over the years. And what we saw come through in the mayor's budget is that Cure the Streets team at the Attorney General's office is being completely wiped out. That has the effect of basically diminishing the resources for Parkview by half. There was some weird stuff going on with the contract that for the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement when they put out the priority areas for the contractor. They didn't even list Parkview, which is very bizarre. We were able to get that fixed. But it also included a handful of neighborhoods and streets that just, we've never known them to ever have crew violence. So we've really been pushing on the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement to get that right. But at the end of the day, I've got to figure out how we can plus up the budget either for the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement or restore the funding for a Cure the Streets team. Now that team was serving wards 1 and 4. It's about $1 million. I don't know that I can find enough money to restore the whole team. But the wild thing is, and this has never happened as long as I can remember, the Committee on the Judiciary has been talking about merging the two programs. It's something that we've all been talking about because that was the original intent when we passed the law back in 2016, the NEAR Act. There have been hearings on it. There's been a lot of discussion. And the chair did say that she was wanting to do it soon, but we all woke up 24 hours before the judiciary hearing and saw that she had actually just decided to eliminate the Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement, put the Pathways program with the Department of Employment Services. And this is a Pathways program, 10-week program for people who are ready to put down their guns and have a new life, full wraparound services, mental health support for the whole family, and then onto a career path. It's transformative. It does not belong at the Department of Employment Services. It's just too one-dimensional over there to do that kind of thing. And then sending all of the programs over to the Attorney General's office was also not what we thought was about to happen. So again, this has never really happened before, but the committee convened yesterday afternoon and they refused to support the proposal and they refused to vote on what was before them. And so they had to reconvene this morning. Overnight, the chair put the whole thing back with the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement and nothing with the Attorney General's office. So it's a mess. And I'm honestly surprised that the committee adopted it. It was one dissenting vote was Charles Allen. We have 2 former judiciary chairs on that committee, Allen and McDuffie. Both were up in arms. I don't happen to be on that committee. It was probably the only time in my life I ever wished I was on the committee because it was so exciting today. But we still don't really know what's in that budget because when they voted today, they didn't have the budget tables. The narrative was all messed up and it only highlighted kind of what she had restored. So we've got a lot of work to do at the committee of the whole that normally would already be done by now. The net for Ward 1 is we still don't know what funding we have for violence prevention, and I'm confident it's not enough. So I will be working with Chairman Mendelson and other colleagues who are like-minded to try to figure this out in the next 2 weeks, because that's all the time that we have. It's really important for our community in Parkview. It's really important for Columbia Heights, and it's really important for LaDroit, which is where all of the crew-based violence is happening right now, that we get this right. And it's also important that everyone across the city has these resources because it's not necessarily people in Ward 1 who are shooting at Ward 1, right? It's people coming from other places as well. It's not exclusively that. So well, I want Ward 4 and I want Ward 6, 7, and 8, and I want Ward 5 to have the resources they need too, because that's the only way that you can broker lasting peace in our neighborhoods. So that's public safety. I had a very different update plan for you guys, and then that happened. So, okay. I transferred $750,000 to the Health Committee to expand our Community Navigators program. That's Columbia Heights, Mount Pleasant, U Street, and Lower Georgia Avenue, currently run by District Bridges. My sense is that they're not going to bid on that contract again, but we do have someone else in mind that's very excited to bid, who's already working in Ward 1. And I will do a letter of support so that we can hopefully get that off the ground right away in the fall. But that's been a really important program. Small businesses appreciate having people on the ground to assist with folks that have substance use disorder. We very much love that we have people connecting folks with services in real time, that you don't have to call 988 to get someone out from DBH deployed from somewhere in the city. We just have people making rounds in our community, and we're going to make that a permanent program as well. Still a lot more to do on the budget, not enough money for emergency rental assistance. We haven't solved all of the issues with our healthcare program for immigrants. We need to fund vouchers for people experiencing homelessness. But that's where we are. If you want, I can get into sort of some of the ballot initiatives. I'll just say there's two that usually come up in Ward 1 ANC meetings. One is the Sanctuary Values Act. I understand that came up earlier in your meeting tonight. We're planning to strike that, the repeal of that from the Budget Support Act. The one thing that I don't know if it will be striked, where we can still use advocacy, stricken. It's been a long day, is the repeal of I-82. So you recall voters have now twice gone to the polls and said, we would like to raise wages for tipped workers. And once the council has said, nah, we're going to repeal it. I did not vote to repeal it. Voters went again and said, no, we really meant it. And I still have colleagues saying voters don't really know what they're voting on. And that is evidenced by the fact that the majority of my colleagues voted to pause the implementation this month. So what the chairman has said is he needs to hear from council members that they want to see it taken out of the BSA. In order for him to hear from council members, everybody has to contact their at-large members and say, please tell the chairman you want this out of the BSA. I have, of course, already told the chairman that I want it out of the BSA, so you don't have to tell me. I think it's egregious to once again repeal the will of the voters. I think it's incredibly patronizing and egotistical, I might say. So that's still in play at the moment. And just for fun, in 2 weeks, we are also voting on the Rental Act, which is a bill the mayor introduced, and Robert White is moving it in the Housing Committee, and it essentially guts the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. I have been working with the committee. It looks like they are going to incorporate most of my common sense TOPA reform bill into it. And there are just a few things more that I would like to tweak, and I'm meeting with them tomorrow to talk about those things. But now that we've gotten through our budget markup, we'll have just a teeny bit of time, not a lot, to work through any amendments that might be needed, because the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act has been around for 45 years, and it has been critical to maintaining stability and affordability in our communities. I will stop there and see if anybody has questions at the pleasure of the chair.
We appreciate the thoroughness. I think we tried to get some of that previously, and it was very nice to hear a lot of that detail. So thank you. I do want to just start with there was a question in the that we received directly for you. Just when is the hearing for the bottle deposit? When is the hearing for the bottle deposit the council member proposed?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. We're hoping for a fall hearing. We've been getting jerked around a little bit because it was referred first to the business committee and then subsequently to the Committee on Transportation and the Environment. And business committee keeps getting extensions, mainly because the budget keeps getting delayed. And so they now have the bill until November, but I got the chairman to agree that the Transportation and Environment Committee could actually hold a hearing before they officially have the bill, even though that's not a thing. So I think that Chairman Allen wants to do it in September or October. So fingers crossed. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson.
Thanks, Chair Footer. Thank you, Councilmember Nadeau, for joining us tonight. I had a couple of questions. Really excited that bus priority for Georgia Avenue isn't going to run into any funding constraints. Is that the case for the Crosstown bus priority project too? Do you know?
I don't, but I'll get back to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I had, this is slightly related to the budget, but just thinking about the provisions to deal with dangerous drivers. I'm curious on your thoughts on if the work that OAG is doing is like going to work in the long run. I think it's good that we're doing lawsuits
The
about,
suing.
yeah, out of state drivers, but it's like 10 or so here and there, and I don't know what the total number is of people who have more than $10,000 or whatever in fines. And so I'm just curious, like, if it's sustainable to just like keep relying on that, or if we need to explore other solutions. And that's probably
Well,
like a longer topic, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, let me just say that I have never ever wanted to be a lawyer more than when I saw those press releases. And like, I want to be the guy who is suing those drivers because, God, that's fun. I mean, that was like one of the coolest features of the Steer Act. And I'm so psyched to see it implemented like with fidelity and enthusiasm, which is so rare because most of the bills we pass are implemented by the other head of the executive branch, or not. So the answer is we don't know, but I do think that setting an example that we are going to go after people absolutely has to be a deterrent. I mean, it's all over the news, you know? And in addition to the lawsuits, we are now giving DPW more tools to go after the scofflaws, and we've shifted their priority to the scofflaws as opposed to sort of the convenience sample of booting and towing of, oh, look there, that popped, that popped. We also have done some work in this budget on the license plate readers, the funding of the sort of the bumping of them, right? So there's like 3 government agencies, maybe 4 that have license plate readers, and none of them communicate with each other. And so this is going to help with that too. So it's one tool from the Steer Act, and now we're getting them all up and running. And I think it's got to be the combination of things. But man, do I love those press releases about the Attorney General going after the scofflaws where it counts in their pocketbooks, as my auntie would say. So.
Thank you. And I also just want to say thank you because I think we had DPW on this meeting last month, and I asked them about towing vehicles that don't have plates, and they gave a not so great answer. And I'm glad that you asked them about that during the budget hearing. So appreciate that.
You know, I love that moment. Like, I like nothing better than to grill people about like, how are you doing your job in government? Because we get so many interesting answers, and like, I'm sitting there talking to the director, but his entire staff is watching that hearing, and they know that as soon as he gets off the witness table, that he's going to have someone's butt if they're not doing the thing they're supposed to be doing. I cannot emphasize how important that oversight is, and what a critical piece of the council member's job is calling these agencies to account for implementing the laws that we pass. So I think we have a good partner at DPW. They have a large mandate. They're working out the kinks, but yeah, I think also there was still a little money that needed to be found for that program. So now we found it.
Commissioner Hawker.
Hi, Councilmember Nadeau. Just before I get started, I wanted to say just very quickly that my questions and my opinions are my own and not those of the Office of the Inspector General, DC. However, my work experience has led me to a certain set of questions when it comes to the budget, especially around violence interrupters, community messengers, Cure the Streets, all that jazz. As of course, your colleagues and you voted to expel Trayon White for his indictments and alleged crimes, including allegedly accepting and facilitating bribes around the violence interruptions program. And something that one of the Q&A folks asked is about why defund defund the Cure the Streets when it is proven to be the much more effective program. An interesting phrase, much more effective program. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on measuring and overseeing the vendors that provide services for Cure the Streets and the violence interrupters, safe passageways as well. It's a small pool that provide these. As you had mentioned earlier, Ward 1 now has the same provider for 2 different programs under 2 different agencies. And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on measurement and oversight. I've been in the world where it's entirely possible and a true answer that these programs may not have qualitative oversight capability, and that's okay. But I'm really curious to hear what you think could be done, especially in the chair's tweet about the agreement with the mayor, where you feel oversight of these providers could be changed or strengthened.
Thank you for that. And yes, that was another fun feature of today's roundtable, is we learned that the chair has been signing agreements with the mayor about certain things, which is fascinating. I didn't know we could do that. Maybe I'm going to start doing it. I don't know. But in any case, one of the things that I would like to put into context about our violence prevention programs as established by the NEAR Act is that they are such a small fraction of our public safety budget. And in cities where these programs have been highly effective, they have had more robust budgets, and they've had more buy-in from the executive partner on their implementation. And for example, Baltimore, if you look at the success that they've had in a really short time. And one of the challenges that we've always had is it becomes a competition between funding MPD and funding everything else, because their budget is so large. So you have like a $500 million budget for the police, and then violence prevention teams are fighting over like maybe $10 million, when what you really want is for there to be enough boots on the ground that these violence prevention programs are blanketing every neighborhood they need to be in, and the need for MPD comes way down. And that has just not happened because, in my opinion, of the lack of buy-in from the mayor. And the reason I think that Cure the Streets has been so much more effective could partially be the model. It's a little different than what ONES is doing. Although I don't actually think it's the perfect model for the District of Columbia, based on feedback from people who know much better than I do about how these things work. I think it's more about the fact that the Attorney General was like, okay, this is the law and I think it's good and I'm going to implement it. And that has made all the difference. I would be curious to see if moving the Cure the Streets model over to the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement yields the same results, or if it's that agency level management that is the problem. We don't know the answer to that.
So
yeah, we don't know the answer to that. And unfortunately, despite having implemented this program for like, what, 8 years now, I personally do not feel like we know enough because it hasn't been implemented with fidelity. That said, I'm a huge proponent of it. It is way better than every alternative we've had in the past. And when I was a freshman, when I was a new council member, we had really no money for gang violence prevention in the ward. And I would basically walk around with my hat, like, can I have some funding here? Could we fund LAYC to get upstream on violence prevention? Could we fund our collaborative, it's called Collaborative Solutions. And they became the first grantee of the ONES program, but it was just like $250,000 at a time. And I was like, we need something, people are fighting and we need them to put down the guns. There's like 2 organizations in the ward that know how to do this. We're in a much better situation than we were then, but it's still not great. And what happened today is not going to help. And I wish I could tell you right now how this is going to end in the FY26 budget, because I do not think there's enough agreement yet over which direction to go. Like, we were just starting the conversation on this. McDuffie has a bill to merge them, and there were a lot of opinions about that. But what's before the council right now is both programs are underfunded. Both are seeing cuts. And like, that's not really a merger. That's like a, I don't know what.
definitely not any of the previous proposals is
correct. Correct. So, and you asked about, the corruption and the other things. And I think, we learned a couple things from the investigations that have happened. I mean, there's video of this, he obviously took the bribes. I know that he's like innocent until proven guilty, but like, we have video, and that is not the standard that council follows. We follow our code of conduct, which has clearly been violated, which is why we expelled him. And I think we would do again if he was elected again, in July. But I mean, you work in an office that roots out fraud, waste, fraud, and abuse. And so you know that there is always waste, fraud, and abuse wherever there are human beings.
Always. Yes.
Right. And I think in this instance, the system did work, right? There was fraud and the system worked in rooting it out. Our law enforcement officials identified it, and you know, more has come of that. It doesn't mean that every aspect of the program is engaged in that. In fact, we're very confident that it isn't, based on other investigations the mayor has done. None of us benefit from that existing in government, and all of us are on the team rooted out. But it certainly didn't help, because these programs have always had criticism, even just for existing and being something other than the police. And that's a shame. And I think it's hard to say if we're going to be on the right track in FY26 or if we're going to be in limbo. But what I can tell you is that I'm going to push to make sure that we have adequate resources. And the way I will gauge that is probably by number of people that are serving our community, to make sure we have enough for each neighborhood that is in conflict to negotiate a ceasefire, as well as enough people to manage them. And if I can, some additional funding for case management for the people who are engaged in violence, because it's one thing to say everybody put down your guns, but the what's next is often the missing piece. And not everybody can get into the Pathways program. So it's nice to have some case management on our own. So that was a very long answer, but
no, thank you. I
That's
really
important.
deeply appreciate it, because I think there's a common conception over measurement should it be about results of the violence interrupters. But I really appreciate your perspective of measuring success about, you know, how well funded is it, how many people are on the ground and available. So I really appreciate that, council member. Thank you so much.
yeah. And I'll just say, because actually you made me think, like, we can actually measure its success in other ways that are important to the public too. For example, we met in LaDroit earlier this year, and one's office was able to tell us that Reverend Judy's team had mediated, I think, 6 different conflicts and prevented 20 shootings in their estimation, right? And that was just in the spring. So I think we have to do better about getting that data and sharing it with the public so that it's more tangible.
I would absolutely deeply support that. And I know this ANC is extremely excited to work with you on all of that information. Should you ever want to say anything to any of the other committees about that?
Any other questions for the council member? All right, we'll turn to the community. Members of the community, do you have any questions for council member Nadeau? All right, I see that we have one from Michelle Chappell. Michelle,
Hi,
thank
Michelle.
you very much.
Hi, Brianne. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hey, this is your favorite topic.
Yes, this is my favorite topic. So, council member Brianne knows that I am a longtime Moms Demand Action volunteer. So this is right. Yeah, this is right in my wheelhouse. So I just put a question in the Q&A, and I wanted to repeat it. How can members of the public best advocate at this point where we are? How can we best advocate for sufficient VI funding for Ward 1? Like, what would you recommend we do right now?
Thank you. Great question. Now it's in the hands of Chairman Mendelson. And so you know that I will be working to get his attention on this and get his support, but he also represents every single one of you. And so I would say contacting him would be great. He does check and respond to his own email. He also does community office hours like I do. And I don't know his schedule off the top of my head, but I assume that it is public. And so, you know, those could be 2 ways to talk to him about it. I mean, it's a short window. I believe I have identified some funding in my committee that I held back, which is a trick that we use because we didn't really know where to send it because the Judiciary Committee was in full meltdown mode. But I can say to the chairman, oh, I set aside this money in my budget. Can you please move it too? But I still would like more than what I was able to find. So I would say advocating to him. You don't have to mention the money that I have. You can just say, we need to restore the violence prevention programs in Ward 1. Very basic. We had 2. Now we think we have 1. We don't really know. But we need to ensure that we have adequate coverage in every neighborhood that has community-based violence. Oh, thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner found Saturday, July 12th meeting at 10 a.m. So that's in between first and second reading. So that's still a good time to catch him.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. Any other questions from community members?
Chairman,
Oh, yes.
forgot
I'm sorry,
to press the ballot
Commissioner
number,
Howard.
so
Yeah.
if it's okay. Councilwoman, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to second, third, and fourth your comments about wanting metrics with this program, because I think these programs get tossed around with numbers, and when there's no metrics, it's easier to cut things when anyway, because as you said, lives are on the line here, and so I appreciate your commitment to that, and then more of your funding in trash and the parks. I think one of the things we love about over here in Parkview is just how beautiful it is over here, and I know particularly around Parkview Rec Center, there's been a lot of dumping, a lot of overflowing trash cans, and some erratic kind of pickup of trash cans too, especially here along Park. So just grateful for your investments there. It'll help a lot.
Right. If there are no other questions, Council Member, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and appreciate your thorough review of everything.
It's been my pleasure. Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to present the agenda, and we will continue on with transportation. Commissioner Jacobson. Did we lose Mr. Jacobson? Here it is.
You might have called on me. I was just disconnected because I have poor service here.
We did. So you were up, sir.
Yes, we did not have a meeting last month, but our next meeting is still on for Wednesday, July 2nd. I know we discussed potentially changing it at the cow, but from talking to the committee members, that day still works, so no need to change it. We will likely be commenting on the Strategic Parking Enforcement Enhancement Act of 2025, since we had talked about that earlier this year, but wanted to table it until closer to the end of the budget season, so it didn't get lost in that shuffle. And then also some discussion on loading zones, because I've had a couple of requests from constituents come up for loading zones. So we'll be reaching out to DDOT on those. To some of you at meeting next Wednesday.
I believe that was everything. Commissioner Jacobson, can you hear us? I think you're frozen.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I cut off there, but I hope to see some of you at the meeting next Wednesday, and that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, next we'll move to Public Safety and Engagement Committee with Commissioner Newland.
Thank you, Chair Footer. We just have one item for consideration tonight, quite timely given it's come up a few times, but a resolution about the violence interruption programs. So we can just walk through this quickly, but for context, this is similar to a resolution that ANC 1B has passed, basically pointing out that there are some funding, I guess, issues in terms of the investment in public safety and violence prevention programs, specifically in our ward, and then also about potentially moving some of the different programs to separate agencies or eliminating them. I mean, I think we heard tonight that both from the council member and from representatives in the mayor's office, these conversations are ongoing. So I think it seems to be a very fluid situation, but on the whole, the resolution is basically saying that, any sort of funding cuts should be restored and brought back to the previous levels. And then any sort of investments in the violence interruption program should be maintained. So I think that gives an appropriate level of, flexibility depending on these how these kind of conversations go over the next couple of weeks. But happy to take any questions, and also Chair. Sorry, Commissioner Brown, I know that you were very involved in putting this together, which I thank you for, but if there's any context I missed, please jump in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Newland, and for providing that overview, and thanks to Councilmember Nadeau for also lending us her staff for outlining the issues before the proposal move through council. So Commissioner Newland and Grant and I were involved in a call to really hear and understand what issues were moving before Ward 1 and the impacts, particularly on ANC 1E. And so this resolution is reflective of that and really focuses on the neighborhoods that are targeted to receive violence interrupter programs, dedicated FTEs to the Cure the Streets program, and also recognizing that we realize that public safety isn't just an MPD issue or an OAG or Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement issue. We also recognize the other investments, community-based investments that are targeted for our ANC. The council member mentioned some of that earlier. So we just wanted to deter any cuts that are going to be proposed in the budget and preserve them at existing levels. Love to see some increases, but right now we know that we're under some tough budget constraints, and just wanted to thank Chair Newland and Commissioner Grant for all of their hard work as well.
Great. Any other questions? All right, we'll go to members of the community. Members of the community, if you have any questions with respect to the resolution urging restoring funding levels for violence interruption programs, please raise your hand. All right, Commissioner Hawker, is your hand up?
I apologize. This is a newbie
Nick,
question.
you're good.
Is it possible to abstain with a comment? I don't know if it's just yay or nay, or if you can abstain from resolutions.
You can absolutely abstain.
Okay, just double checking. Not that it kind of spoils what's about to happen, but I did want to have like a comment, but let me know when the time comes for that.
I am going to call on our resident rules expert, Commissioner Howard. Is that something that we just reflect in the minutes and have her write it up, or say on the record? Let's say let the record flow. You are on mute.
Yeah, just when you call this particular motion, you would say all in favor, all opposed, any abstentions, and at that point, someone would say I abstain.
With comment. If she wanted to insert a comment.
I mean, without objection, you can do what you want, Mr. Chair. So if she wants to do that, that's no
I would also be happy to say it into the general meeting minutes, and it does not necessarily need to be a written comment. You just let me know what I need to do.
Yeah, no, we can do what we like as long as it's not in violation of the bylaws. I don't think that is. So, Mr. Chairman, you want to just submit it to allow an abstention with comment, you certainly can, as long as no one objects.
Okay, we can do that. So with that, I'll now accept a motion to adopt the resolution urging restoring funding levels for violent interruption programs.
And I ask for, Mr. Chairman, I have one more question. Just dawned on me here. On this, so just to be clear, we're not making a comment about the cuts anywhere else. This is just to ask that the council take seriously these violence interruption programs. And just, and that's it, right? Just.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I assume it is. I'm saying that for the record. I just want to be clear on that. And I think this is a pretty common sense resolution, and I kudos to the Commissioner Brown and others who in Newland who put this together. So thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
I moved with
Okay.
that. That sounds good.
Is there a second?
I seconded it.
Second.
Oh, thank you.
Pippa can, Commissioner Walker can get the abstention.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Any nays? And abstentions, and we'll accept a comment.
Thank you, Chair Footer, for allowing me to comment. I personally support all community-based investments for public safety. However, out of an abundance of caution, due to pending litigation, as well as the mission of the Office of the Inspector General, I've recused myself from voting on this, as we are a highly involved office with this issue. But my personal views align with the yays.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we have 6 yeas, 0 nays. Excuse me, 1 abstention, and the motion passes, and the resolution is adopted. All right. Commissioner Newland, I will kick it back over to you. Anything else?
No, nothing else. Just our next meeting is Monday, July 14th at 7 p.m. and we'll just continue to keep an eye on the budget negotiations in case there's anything else that we need to discuss at that meeting, but an agenda will be posted a week ahead. So looking forward to everybody joining us then. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last, certainly not least, we have our final resolution, which is resolution urging DC Council to remove the repeal of sanctuary city laws from the budget. Essentially, I wrote this, so I'll talk through it. Essentially, DC has been a longstanding sanctuary city that they are trying the Sanctuary Values Amendment Act of 2019 prevents MPD and the Department of Corrections from cooperating with federal immigration authorities, and that the mayor's budget repeals sections of that law. One of the things that we've heard from the council when I was doing my research around this was that part of the justification for wanting to do this was to make sure that DC was not at threat of losing federal funding. So one of the things that I actually added in here is that there's precedent demonstrating that localities that sued when there were threats of losing their funding due to maintaining their sanctuary cities, that the court system actually upheld the locality's ability to receive those funds, and that the federal government couldn't do that without approval from Congress and moving those funds or withdrawing that. And so all of that is to say that we, ANC opposes the proposed repeal, urges DC Council to remove it. We're committed to defending immigrant residents and opposing any local efforts that enable federal immigration enforcement to bypass due process and constitutional protections. That ANC calls on DC elected leaders to center community safety, constitutional rights, and the lived realities of DC immigrant communities in all public space policy and budget decisions. And that is everything. Any questions?
Yeah, if Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Please, yeah.
If so I guess I'm confused why this is in a budget bill, but B, if you're saying the mayor's argument is wrong, I'm just curious, like what was her rationale? Like surely she has kind of facts to back up her claim.
What I heard could have been hearsay. I heard it from, that's what people had been talking about, and so you're just trying to prepare for a variety of arguments that may come up. I included that. I don't really know
You're
what
saying-
the mayor's
you're saying
rationale was.
You're saying that she is arguing that we could lose grants
That
because
we
of it.
can use federal funding, that there have been threats that localities would lose federal funding if they maintain their sanctuary cities.
Okay, so this is not like in current law, there's not a automatic disqualification or disqualifier for being a sanctuary city. What we're referring to are statements by congressional Republicans or the White
Correct.
House, which is threatening to take
Right.
away, and the mayor, in what I assume is an attempt to maintain her relationship with the president, is trying to placate him by saying.
Yes, and please let me be clear. I am not trying to put words in the mayor's mouth.
No, I
This
just
is what I heard. And so I'm putting just a bunch of arguments in here demonstrating to support the mayor in being able to articulate that, you know, we should maintain our sanctuary city status. That is not, if that is in her lexicon, that's not a valid argument. That here's some precedent to demonstrate how localities have been able to maintain their sanctuary status and still receive their congressionally authorized federal funding.
Have we been given any? Sorry, Commissioner Hawker.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Have we been getting indication like what grants are specifically? Have they pointed to anything? I mean, the White House is just full of typical vague and empty threats. So
I know. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't look that far into it. I'm not.
Okay,
I don't
right.
know. It's just, you know, if they're. I don't want to put any words in the mayor's mouth. It's an argument that I felt we could address because there's court precedent, but I don't know what funding that has specifically been threatened.
And to be clear, like if this passes, like MPD corrections, they would have to essentially begin honoring ICE detainers with the city directive without warrants. Is that correct? Like, because those are two different.
So
barriers, like,
it is a good point. So Article 7 or Section 7 of the Act specifically deals with the Department of Corrections. My opinion is that it doesn't matter. It's a slippery slope. I don't know how many people in the Department of Corrections are actually impacted by this, but to your point, that the repealing this sends a message that our government that is trying to articulate autonomy and their own right is kowtowing to being able to give the federal government authorities space to go in and go into our spaces and disrupt the immigrant community, things of that nature. And so, you know, even though this is only dealing with the Department of Corrections in this law and does not pertain to MPD, it's still a very strong symbol, and I still think it's a bad one.
And my last question, Mr. Chairman, is that given that all the news reports of improper deportations, including of citizens, and when you take into account that misuse and that abuse, and then you take into account that immigration by nature of it outlined specifically in the Constitution, one of the few responsibilities of the federal government that is outlined in the Constitution is to enforce immigration laws. I just want those two things were part of the concerns here, right? I assume so.
Can you clarify your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just that, like, am I correct in assuming that, like, am I correct in the Constitution clearly delineates that it's a federal responsibility, not a municipal one? And number two, that cooperating with an agency that has a tendency to deport people who are actually citizens or deport people before a court, they've even had a hearing, half the time not in the language they understand, and you know, and in other cases going around courts completely, and you know, deporting them before court has a chance to rule whether they can. That's a concern of what's going on here, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Stating that further as a question.
Yeah. I mean, I'll accept a friendly amendment if you think that there's a
No,
clause that
I'm
would make that a lot clearer.
I'm asking questions to clarify my reasons for supporting. So I think Chairman for writing this, it's I think rife with I get why the mayor did it. I don't necessarily blame her, you know, for trying, you know, playing good cop bad cop here. But these are people's lives and livelihoods at stake, and I think it's important we stand up in this moment.
Thank you much. Commissioner Hawker.
So just along the lines of that, this was my bad for missing committee prep. However, I would just like to recommend perhaps that the ANC considers sometime in its future passing a resolution about strengthening, supporting, and or amending to strengthen home rule as part of increasing the ability, as you mentioned, Chair Footer, to be autonomous and express our democratic rights to have as little federal interference as possible in our unique situation. So just something I thought maybe we might want to bring up again, though maybe it's a bit of an assumption. I kind of think many of us would support DC home rule. Perhaps we want to say something about that again, as it seems quite relevant.
Yeah, I'd be willing to work with you on that. All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none. Members of the community, any questions with respect to the resolution urging the DC Council to remove the repeal of sanctuary city law? All right. Seeing none, I'll now accept a motion to adopt the resolution urging DC Council to remove the repeal of sanctuary city laws from the FY26 budget proposal.
And I move with unanimous consent that we adopt resolution as written.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is adopted.
Thank you, thank you, Chair Footer, for putting this together.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right. So that is all of our business for this evening. And so I'll now accept a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Are you asking with unanimous consent? Or
I don't like that practice, so no.
all right, is there a second?
Unanimous consent that we adjourn.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Any nays? Abstentions? All right. With 7 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions, the motion passes and we are adjourned. Just a very quick note before we go. The next general meeting of the ANC 1E is going to be Wednesday, July 23rd, and the Committee of the Whole is on Tuesday, July 15th. Announcements and other information about ANC 1E is available at anc1e.org. Please feel free to contact any commissioner with any questions. And with that, thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I'll call you after this, but yeah.
Okay. And to that point, I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah. Well, if folks are on, I can, when you stop recording, I can